Well, hello. I'm glad you could join us today for our 4th episode of the 2nd season. Today, we're going to do something that's a little bit different than what we normally do. As you can see up here on the canvas, I've taken acrylic paint and I've just painted an outline of maybe like a tree here, some bushes, and I think down here we're going to have a lake. This is going to be very deep in the woods and you'll be able to see off in the distance through here. What I was doing when we started was putting a little sap green down at the bottom, just going back and forth, egg shapes. And then I'm going to take a little Van Dyke brown. I don't even need to clean the brush. And we'll just come in and put some of that in there too. Not much, just a little bit. You won't be able to see this very well right now, but when we get done with the painting, you'll see why it's here. And if you'll go down to my palette here, you can see that we've still got some paints from the last episode. When we film the episodes, we do several of them at once. So I don't wear the same clothes every day. I just do a lot of episodes at once. Alright, now that we got that done, we're not going to fill it completely in. We're just going to put a little color there. That's all we need. I'm going to go into a little bit of my Indian yellow. And I'm just going to start right here and put a little yellow in the sky. And this paint is a little bit transparent, so you'll be able to see it as we paint it over stuff. I'm going to try not to go over this tree too much, but it's okay if a little bit gets on it. This is not a big deal. Got a little yellow up here in the little gap. I'm going to come back and put some other colors in here. Alright, now we're going to take a little bit of our crimson, alizarin crimson, and just on the outside of that, we're going to do this. Crimson is a very transparent color, so if we go over the black, as you can see here, you're hardly going to see it at all because the color shines through, so it's okay to let a little bit of that get on the black. The Indian yellow also is, but actually I ran out of Indian yellow, so the color I'm using is the cadmium yellow, which is not as transparent. That's why I've tried hard to stop a little bit earlier this time. Ooh, it's bright right there. And just little X shapes so we can blend this in. And where they meet, they're going to make a nice orange color. And that's nice for what we're doing. A little more right here. We don't want any white showing through. We want to fill this up because, you know, if you're looking at the sky in the background, you're not going to see white. Maybe a little orange down here. And already it's looking like a nice sunset through the woods, and we just put 2 colors on the canvas and kind of blended them together a little bit. And I'm just blending it out. This doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to paint a lot of trees and things over this color too. In fact, you can see part of what we're going to do because I've already put some background color in here with the acrylic paint. And you don't have to have a special brush to do this. I actually applied this acrylic paint with paper towels. I've heard that it's better to use black gesso for this because acrylic paint apparently over time can eventually crack and it could cause the paint to peel off. And that may be true. I'm not sure, you know. I've only been painting about a year and a half, but from what I have heard about it, the acrylic paint will take about 150 years to do this. So I'm not too concerned with it, because by the time it does that, I'll be dead, and whoever buys it from me will probably be dead too. So we're not worried about it. This is not something for an art gallery wall. It's just something to make me happy. You know, something people hang over their fireplace or in their living room or something like that. In fact, I go so far as to say this isn't really a fireplace mantle portrait. This is more like a dining room wall portrait painting, I guess. All right, that's enough of that. So I'm going to come back and go into some of the cad yellow, and I'm going to brighten this area up a little bit, because this is the part where my sun's going to be. So just scrub in some yellow there. And since we want this area to be the brightest, I'm going to take a little bit of my titanium white and put it right in here. It won't show up much now, but once we start putting everything in around it, you're going to be able to tell this is a lot brighter. Just scrubbing that deep into the canvas. You know, normally I coat the canvas with liquid white, but when I do this kind of painting, that's not what I want to do. I just put some wet paint directly on the dry canvas, and you know, wet paint, I hope the paint move around too, so it works great. The last thing I'm going to do is do a little finger painting. I'm going to put my finger in the titanium white, just a little bit here. This will wipe right off your hand, and I'm just going to make a sun right there, a bright sun. And wipe my finger off. Come go over it again, that way I can pick up some of the excess paint. I can maybe scrape some of it off with the palette knife. Basically what's going to get saved there is what we've really dug into the canvas. We want to take the rest of it off. Come through one more time. Rub it in there extra deep. And then I'm just going to lightly come across. Just blend that in. You don't have to worry about destroying it, because we dug it so deep in there that that's going to stay. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is start putting in some of our dark background color for our bushes. You know, a lot of this we covered up with paint, so we want to make sure that we cover it back up a little. We don't want to cover up all that sky. That's why we left some of these little places in here. But we do want to make it look like we got trees and bushes back in the background. And up in the sky where, you know, you can see we got the branches, the leaves hanging off of this tree. And keep some of that in there. We don't want to cover it all up. And with oil paints, even the really dark ones are somewhat transparent. So even the brown we're putting in is gonna let a little bit of that light show through that we put. So, but you're gonna have more little spaces as you go up. So. Right now we're just getting in the basic shapes. We'll come back and put our highlights and all that in later. Make this look like real bushes. I've done one similar to this before at a bar that I sometimes paint at. There's a DJ that plays, and I go up and do some live painting, and that's always a lot of fun. I enjoy that. It gives me a lot of new ideas to try, you know, because when I'm painting here or painting at home by myself, it's hard to think of things. But when I'm painting in public like that, I'll often have people come up to me and you say, you know, it would be interesting if you tried something like this, and then they'll give me an idea. And a lot of times I'll use that idea. I'll paint it the next time we have a show, or paint it on whatever painting we're doing live. Alright, we got some basic shapes up here, so I think we're about done with that. And since we have a field off here in the distance, maybe I'll get a little bit of my Van Dyke brown. And this is right here near the sun, so you're not going to see a lot of color, you're just going to see a shadow. So we're going to just take straight Van Dyke brown, a very dark color, and we're just going to lay out a tree here. Maybe something like that. Come back up and make another little tree, maybe a bit closer, or a little bit further away, a little bit smaller. You know, sometimes I'm up here, I get to painting, and my words just run together because I'll be talking to you, but my mind is on what I'm doing. So, you know, if you ever hear me say something that sounds ridiculous, just ignore it. All right, more back there. And maybe one here on the other side of the sun, just kind of sticking out here. Oh, that's nice. I really like that. Maybe a little line of bushes going through here. All right. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is maybe put some highlights on these bushes. But before I do that, I'd like to paint some little places in the background. So I'm going to take a little bit of that color I mixed up for the sun, maybe add a little brown into it, and using the liquid white to make this really thin. And maybe in here, just make a little tree going up. Maybe this branch would be visible through all of what we got going on here. Just however you want them to go. And the reason I'm using this really bright white color, it may not be the perfect color for this, you know, like trees actually look, but a lot of times the contrast is more important than keeping things true to life. You know, if you're really far back in the woods and it's getting dark, you might not see much of anything at all. And that would make for a boring painting. So just going to put some of these things in. No big deal. Just however you think they should go. Ooh. You usually want to try to keep it thicker at the bottom. I just kind of dropped the ball on that one, so we'll just make it a little thicker. And what I'm doing as I'm coming down, I'm twirling the brush. I've got a script liner brush here, and the reason I've mixed it with the liquid white is because you need your paint very thin to do things like this. I really do hope all of you will try this. You know, if you enjoy watching, that's fine too, but you know, if you try it yourself, I think it'll bring you a lot of joy and happiness, and let you let out some of that creativity we know you got. And you know, this painting here, this one's a special one for me too, because this is the 40th painting I've ever done. I signed and numbered the back of all of them. So, you know, if I can do it, I sincerely believe that anyone can. And I'm just going to tap wherever some Van Dyke brown, wherever I think some leaves would come off from these branches. And we're going to end up covering most of them up. But part of it will still be there. Maybe a little bit here, a bit there. If you turn your brush to the side, it'll look like the leaves are more bushy and sticking out more. So some of them you want to hang down like this, you know, going to the side. But others you want sticking up, especially near the top of the tree. But again, you can do these however you want, however makes you happy. And let's see, up here, do one. Alright. Now that we got that done, I'm going to come back with the brush I had my light colors on. And I'm going to do some highlights here. Maybe I'll take a little bit of all the yellow colors and just mix them together. Just have them sticking out here and highlighting some of this stuff. Yeah, with these that are sticking out here on the side by the sun, I'm going to make them a little bit brighter because the sun will shine on those and show up really bright. But we want to make sure we leave a lot of that dark color in there that we got. And we also want to make sure we don't cover up all the sky we got showing through, because that orange color is going to be very pretty showing through the trees. So just a few here and there. Some in the background. You don't want to let these get too bright or it won't look right to you, because it's pretty dark and back in the shadows. But again, this is your painting. You can do it any way you want. It's the best thing about painting. Alright, maybe a little bit back here. Remember to turn your brush sideways and do some that go out like that. So it looks like these are sticking up instead of falling down. And we're going to come along and put some of that color on the bushes. And we'll try to remember that each of these are separate bushes, and the ones that are brighter, you know, you think where your sun's going to hit, put a little extra light on them. Even a little bit of this orange color here. In fact, I'm going to get one of my little 1-inch brushes. I'm going to mix up a little red, a little yellow, make a bright orange color. Red's really strong, so we just need a small amount. Maybe come through, put some in here like this. But we want to make sure we leave some of the dark color. You still have shadows even when the sun's shining. You know, these bushes in front are going to block some of the sunlight from the ones behind them. So make sure you leave the dark area. I'll do some over here. And part of this that I've got over this tree, I'm probably going to end up covering it up, but it's okay. We're just painting some basic color in right now. Some of this back in here, deep in. Less color back here because not as much light's going to shine back in the shadows. We got some covers up the foot of this tree. And just change it up, different colors of yellow and orange, or whatever colors you want your bushes to be. This is just how I'm doing mine. I'm not trying to tell you how you should do yours. Alright, a little highlights on these trees. And maybe they'll have a little sun because they're not in the shadows. Got the sun shining directly on them. So they'll show up a little bit brighter. Maybe the leaves of this tree up here, maybe we'll put some yellow ochre in and make them a little bit brighter. I'm gonna have to come back and paint some of these in a few minutes when I do the tree trunks again. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on the tree right now, since we're gonna end up doing most of it over. And as these bushes get close to you, you know, they're gonna look a little bit bigger on your painting. Maybe a little bit of color down here. Not too bright on this side. Just a little bit to show there is color back there. There's some back here in the back behind this tree. A little color there. And maybe I'm going to go back to our color that we used to make the trees here and mix it with some brown, because maybe this back side of them isn't so dark. Maybe there's a little shadow on the side of the tree. Just give the indication of a shadow, make it a little bit darker. And our light is coming from the sun, so the opposite side from the sun. Maybe a lot darker up in here. It's these little details that are very important for the painting. It's what draws people's eye to them, makes them think, oh, well, that looks kind of real. Of course, nothing I've painted here looks like a real tree, but it makes people feel like they're seeing a tree, and that's what's important, how people feel. I feel like these trees should have some shadows, so that's why I'm putting them in. It's always most important that you paint what you want to paint, not when someone else tells you to. You know, I saw on one of my friend's Facebook the other day, it showed a cup that was empty, and they had a caption on it that said, "You have to fill your own cup before you can fill someone else's." And I really like that quote. I normally hate things like that, but I like that one. All right, a little more color up here. Okay, now I'm going to take a clean brush. At the beginning of this painting, you saw that I put Van Dyke brown and green in here. And here's why. I'm going to just load my brush up with white. I'm just going to come up to the bushes where they stop, and I'm going to pull straight down. Just straight down. And I really should have started here in the middle, where it's going to be a little bit brighter. And just pulling down. Lots of paint. It's going to look like too much right now, but when you go back and start blending it, it's going to look nice. You know, this is going to be water down here, so you could have even put some blue in it if that's what makes you happy. But I wanted it to be really dark since it's here deep in the woods. And we're just going to lightly go across a couple of hairs, not too much. And you want to go straight across. If you start going at an angle, it's going to look like your water's running to the side. And chances are you won't be happy with it that way. So once again, to the side. Don't worry too much about where it meets. We're going to be covering some of that up with some land here in a second. And just after we do that, lightly blend across, almost like we're cleaning our brush off, because we are. I'm going to get my soft bristle brush. That's a little bit better for blending, so I'm going to clean it off. Just run it through my paint thinner, and I've got a little screen in the bottom of it. Actually, let me get down here and get something real quick. Normally, I've already got my paint thinner done, so I can't show you this. But this is what is inside this coffee can. I put paint thinner in it, and this little brush, what it does, well, what would you call this? I guess a brush rack. When you scrub the paint across it and the paint thinner mixes with it, it actually takes the paint off. So the paint thinner, it causes the paint to loosen, and the paint will fall off into the bottom of the can. And you know, you don't have to change paint thinner every time because it settles over time. So you just leave it sitting for a few days, and all the paint thinner will be at the very bottom, so you can just take it and pour it into another can and just wash this off, and you're ready to go again. I often do maybe 4 or 5 paintings using the same can of paint thinner. In fact, it would be good longer than that. It's just that I usually end up not taking enough off of the brush, so when I go to clean my brush off like this, I lose a lot of it to the trash can. All right, I'm gonna clean this brush off. It's not as important here as it would be on a white canvas, because you know we're not gonna see as much of the other colors on the black canvas. But we're going to go ahead and blend this out, and when I get done here, I feel like I've destroyed a lot of the reflections that I was trying to make. So I'm going to come back through with the white and put a little bit more of it on there. Maybe reflect some of these colors. That's what I'll do. I'll reflect some colors. Maybe in the section where we got the sun, I want a little more white coming down through here. Show that sun. Come back with my brush again and just blend that out. And here we don't want that as dark because it's deep in the shadows. Actually, I think I said that wrong. We do want that dark because it's deep in the shadows. There I go again, just talking without thinking. I'm on autopilot. I'm glad that autopilot on airplanes works better than mine does. You know, I got to fly on a plane last month. I actually took a trip back to Georgia to hang out with my best friends, my band. And we played a show and did a video shoot. Had a lot of fun. It was great to see all the guys again. And we had a lot of fun at the show. The show went great. But the video shoot, we had a lot of problems from the start, but we ended up getting it all together. And there was a funny story that came out of that. I stayed at a hotel close to Atlanta in Marietta, and our bass player came by, and he said that for the show, for the video, he wanted to get some shots of the band, maybe walking around and getting ready, things like that for the show. And so he said, I have this idea for something funny. He said, we were at the hotel room. He came in and he said, all right, I'm going to have you and Zach lay here on the bed. And I thought it would be funny if we had Zach like maybe wake up and you have your arm around him, and then he just kind of freaks out and then gets up and gets ready. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do that. We weren't even sure if we were going to use it, which I don't think we ended up using the footage because we had enough from the actual video shoot. But he told me, he said, okay, go ahead and put your arm around Zach, and then we'll have him wake up and act like he's freaked out. And so we did this about 6 times, and he has a professional camera. It's got like the big straps and harness and everything. So he's just sitting here pointing the camera at us in the hotel bed, and he's like, okay, you go ahead, throw your arm around Zach, and we'll get another take of this. And right about that time, he's sitting there with the camera pointing at us, and the cleaning lady comes back, and her eyes got wide, and she said, "Oh, I'll come back. I'll come back." Who knows what she thought was going on in there. So I thought that was a pretty funny story, and I get to tell it. You know, the crazy thing is we got a cleaning lady in Atlanta who doesn't know the punchline, but she also has the same story. So that was a lot of fun. I can't wait to go back and see the guys again. And whenever we get that video done, I'll have it played on here one day at the end of the show. And a few of the episodes this season, I think that we're gonna show some different things at the end of the show when we have time. So hopefully I'll have that for you in the next couple of weeks. All right, I've got some land in there, and we're just gonna lay down some highlights on it in the same direction, just light reflecting off. It makes it look more interesting. And I'm not pushing hard here, I'm just putting very little pressure on it, letting the paint take off what it wants. And you can use whatever colors you like. I find that this is a very good highlight color, so I often use this one, but don't feel like you have to do what I do. Now some of you watching this have probably been painting longer than me, so you know, that's another thing. If you ever have any suggestions for me, you know, let me know. I can not just like things to paint, but you know, if you see something that you feel I could do better, improve my technique, I want to know about that. All right, now I'm going to take a little bit of the liquid white, put it on the canvas, just flat. I'm going to cut a little line across and do a water line, just right here. But yeah, the guys in the band are my best friends, so it was really great to see all of them. And it's really nice to see them because, you know, they're all my best friends for different reasons. You know, we all have different interests, and each one of them is interested in some of the same things I am. Me and Zach, you know, we've always been drawn together by the band from the start. Ricky, he's my bass player who also filmed the video. He was one of my best friends since middle school, and he's always interested in something neat, and it's always something new. I remember when we were little, he taught me about ham radio, and he was actually the one who made me want to start playing the guitar. Well, originally I was going to play the bass. We were going to start a band, but you know, one of us had to play bass, and he played bass. And I was like, that's so cool, I want to learn that. But after a while, we realized, well, I'm actually a little bit better at guitar, because he got one for Christmas. I was playing on it, and I was picking it up pretty quick. And I said, you know, you already played bass, so I'm going to play guitar. We didn't end up starting a band until I was 19, but from the time I was about 14 years old, he started trying to teach me that stuff. I actually got a guitar when I was 15. That's when I really started playing. And our drummer, Jacob, well, he likes a lot of the same things I do. We like to play Street Fighter a lot. We like a lot of video games, and I'd say he's the one who's most like me out of all of them. Now, Jacob joined the band when he was 14 years old. He's been playing with us ever since. At the time, we were 23, so you can imagine how that was. His mom showed up to the first practice, and she was freaked out. She was like, I don't want these old men hurting my son. But, you know, after the first year, everything was fine. All right. Now that we got that done, I'm going to go back to the tree, because I haven't done anything to that yet. and I just want to put some color in here. You know, this is already really dark, so I'm just doing this to basically get some texture in the painting, because when this is dry, you're going to be able to fill this. But you know, the trip we took back, our singer Zach actually paid for the plane ticket, and I can't thank him enough for that, because it was so nice to be able to see everybody. Only stayed for 3 days. Hopefully next time I'll get to go longer, but I couldn't because of work. Didn't have any vacation time. Maybe one of these days I'll be able to paint for a living, then I can just take off whenever I want. But until then, gotta go to work. Okay, we're just gonna spread some more out here. It doesn't have to be covered completely because we already have the black underneath. But you do want it to look about the same all the way down. And I don't know if you can see that on your television set. You might be able to, because this is not really that much different from the black I've got underneath. All right, and I'm just going to cover the whole tree. I know this is boring right here because it's going to take me about 5 minutes to cover the tree. You know, I think next time I do this painting or something similar, I'm probably going to leave this part a little bit darker. I like how it looks, but you know, usually when I'm doing a painting, there's always things I think of about halfway through that I would do a little bit different. And that's how we learn. That's how I learn. We make mistakes, and next time we don't make them again. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. That's what I always say. I've said that a lot on this show, especially in the first season. We enjoy doing these shows. We're actually having the show played on several stations. We're working on getting it played in Portland on PCM. And by the time you see this, it will already be playing on there. I imagine everyone, I say. In my hometown, they're playing it on LGTV, which is the public access station there. And I'm very excited to have it playing in my hometown because a lot of people I know still live there. You know, we sometimes when we're growing up, we always talk about how we're going to get out of the place we live, and now that we have, well, a lot of us miss it. I don't think I miss the town. I just miss the people. You know, something I've learned over the years, I've lived in several different places. Something I've learned is that every place is the same when you run out of money. So sometimes what you have to fix, it's not where you're at, you have to fix yourself. Not that anything's wrong with you, I'm just saying, you know, sometimes you gotta learn to entertain yourself without money, or with very little. That's just painting. You can get into this very cheaply, and The initial supplies will last you for years. Maybe have a little branch hanging out right there because I got some paint off to the side. All right. I'm going to clean that up a little bit more. I want it to look like it belongs there. There. Now that we got that done, we're going to come over to the other side, facing the sun, and we're going to put some highlights here on this tree. Just come around the tree as far as you think the light would go. If it doesn't look bright enough, come back and get more paint. Maybe this is a giant birch tree or something, or just whatever you want it to be. You just want to make sure you got some highlights. And you don't want it to look like you just scraped your knife along here, so come along some of the edges and clean them up some. I mean, unless you like it like that, then leave it. So what I always try to get across to people is that you should do what makes you happy. That's true for anything in life. It's true for life itself. Alright, now I'm going to mix a little blue in with the brown and white that I've been putting on the tree. Maybe that was a little too much. You know what, we're going to go with it. We'll see how it looks. Yeah, definitely too much. Definitely. So I'm going to wipe this off. That's the great thing, is if you don't like something, you can always change it. There we go. A little bit darker. Just a hint of blue to show shadows. Just kind of have it meet in the middle. Maybe I'm going to come through with my clean knife. I always keep two of them over here so I don't have to wipe it off between every time I do something. And I'm going to rub that into the brown underneath a little bit more so it's not as bright. The reason we use the little blue in here is to make it kind of look like there's some reflected light that's reflecting back from the other side, because it's not completely dark. It's just a little bit darker. Kind of blend these together. Maybe I'll leave a couple little white places where the sun's coming around. And go back and do this little section. All right. Same thing here. Blend it. Kind of make little half circles going around, so you kind of make this look 3D, like it's coming around the tree. And on this side, a little bit lighter. I don't want to rub this in as much. Maybe up here. That's a little bit too bright, so we'll bring it down some. Rubbing in the brown underneath. It's going to pick up that dark color automatically. Alright, now the last thing we're going to do to finish this up is we're going to come along and put some leads and things where we think they would be. Maybe on that little branch we painted, put a little bit out there. And we're going to mix some liquid white in with our yellow. Want this to be thinner, because remember, a thin paint will always stick to a thick paint. And we're going to come in and just put some nice bright highlights on this tree. Maybe remember to always start near the top, because things come brighter as they get down. Of course, I'm not sure that they would with the sun being underneath this one, but just going to go with it. It looks nice to me. Just wherever you think these would go. If you need this to be brighter, just mix a little more liquid white in it. I'm going to step back for a second and take a look at what we got. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So I think the last thing we're going to do to this painting is take a little paint thinner. We're going to put some little indications of sticks and twigs, things like that sticking out. We're just going to paint them in. We'll get the paint very thin, almost the consistency of water. Just kind of brush them in there, wherever you think they should go. Do a couple of them going back here in the woods. Indications of trees. Maybe it looks like we got some more stuff deeper back in the shadows, other trees back there. And this just gives a little indication of that. And where I did these, I'm gonna, the ones that ended here, I'm gonna tap at the feet of them so they don't look like they're floating in the bushes. Got something covering them up. And then I'm gonna wipe off my palette knife. And I'm just going to come through and just scrape through the canvas in a few places, wherever we want, just making the indications of some things going on. In some places, you'll have white show through where we had white canvas, and that's good. Look like little bushes and things like that. Just kind of do it like you're trying to cut through the canvas. Alright, and the last thing we're going to do is sign this. So I'm going to do it right down here in this corner. And that's about all the time we have today. I want to thank you for watching, and I invite you to join us next time. If you have any questions, you can contact me at thesalempainter@gmail.com, or you can contact us on our YouTube channel by searching for The Salem Painter, or at facebook.com/thesalempainter. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.